Hello there. My name is Rose Smith Saldivar, and I am here to talk to you about my life a little bit and to form a community of like minded people that are also trying to get their life to a better point. Not that our life is bad at all, but I think sometimes we have to, day by day, work at having a better life. And this is what I mean. Let me give you a little bit of my backstory. I retired at age 52. I was very blessed to be able to do that. I was in education, and at 52, I was able to access my pension. So, except that it was tiny, and the inflation since there has really corroded some of that pension. But that's another story for another time. Anyways, at 52, I retired, and immediately I had to take care of some issues with my son, who was in his last throes of adolescence. And for those of us who have gone through a boy's rough adolescence, you know what I'm talking about. Fortunately, like I said, that was the last throes. He was able to grow up, mature, and become a wonderful, wonderful son. Um, but those years were hard, and those years required me to be there. As soon as my son settled down and started just not requiring my attention so much, my mom required my attention. You see, my mom had Alzheimer's for a long time. My mom was a brilliant person. She was the type of person that you would tell her to remind you of something, and without having to make notes or anything, um, let's say 2 weeks down the road, she'd call you and say, "Oh, by the way, you told me to remind you of this." Her memory was wonderful. But so slowly, in a way that at first only I could see. I could tell that my mom was not able to remember things. My mom is now 87 years old. Tomorrow she turns 88. And this started about 12 years ago. It was very slow. Only I could see it. Then my immediate family could see it. My son, my daughter, my spouse. And it took a long time before others could see what I had already known. By then, um, and this would put us back about 2019, um, my mom couldn't be by herself anymore. She still seemed lucid, she still seemed coherent, but suddenly something would go wrong and she would get the typical symptoms of an advancing Alzheimer's. She'd get very paranoid. She'd think people were coming into her house and stealing things. She would scream at the door saying that she had been locked in or locked out. Um, she would leave the stove on. Her neighbors would call me because she lived in an apartment and they were wonderful neighbors. They would call me to let me know what was going on. By the time I would get to my mom's place, everything was back to normal. Her door was unlocked. Her stove was off. She was sitting watching TV, wondering why I was there, what was wrong, what was going on. I'd barely get back home when they'd call me again that she was having another problem. My mom refused to move out of her house and into mine, or anywhere else for that matter. And it was a tough, tough time. There was nothing legally that I could do because she still appeared competent. But her neurologist was saying that she wasn't and that she couldn't live by herself, which I already knew. God worked in a miraculous way. And after a prayer meeting with my dear friends, my mom agreed suddenly, out of the blue, to come move in with us, my son, my daughter, my husband, and I. It was rough. It was hard. There was a lot of behaviors that were very hard to accept. but she couldn't help it. And there was a lot of grief, especially for me, to see my mom declining in that way. And for my children, because I remembered their grandmother and how she was, and to see her losing her memory, making strange decisions, accusing them of taking things was hard. But fortunately, they were old enough to understand, and they were wonderful. They helped with her in many, many ways. Then the pandemic hit, and suddenly my life, as everybody else's, was turned upside down. We were all scared. We didn't know what to do, and we were stuck at home. I have to say, I was never very scared of dying because I have a strong faith. But I was concerned about what was going on with the world and how it would affect my children, my spouse, my family, and our stability. Fortunately, that time came and passed. And after that, it was kind of a whirlwind. Sorry, can't say the word. It was a crazy time. It was busy. It was like everybody was trying to make up for the time lost, and so many things happened at once. My daughter met a wonderful man and started to plan her wedding. In fact, she got married and they moved away. My son finished high school. It was a rather truncated year during the pandemic. Found a job, started to dream about doing something else with his life. My hubs, who had been talking nonstop about retirement, decided to stay at work a little bit longer. He was a teacher too. My church, we had just started to attend the new church, was growing, and they needed people to serve. And suddenly my role of caregiver for my mom, support for my daughter and son, wife for my husband, church member, active church member, just took up all of my time. And the years passed. And I was very happy to be able to live this. I started to work part-time after a while. As you can see, I'm at a school. And so now I do substitute teaching, which I enjoy. I get a lot of energy from the kids. But one day, towards the end of 2024, I decided it was time to focus on me. You see, like many of us, I'd been focusing on everybody else. And that was fine. I think we women thrive in that environment. We thrive in giving to others love, attention, affection. But sometimes we forget about ourselves, or we become kind of like a less important project. So this year, I decided, with the help of all of us, to explore what would happen if I took care of myself, if I started putting myself in a position of priority. And this is not selfish, this is not wrong, this is just realizing that it is time for me to take care of me, just like I take care of everybody else. If this resonates with you, it's because we are that way as women. We always put other people first. We always take care of others. But this year, 2025, and we're well into it. I mean, this is February 20th. But anyway, this year, I will do some things for me, like this channel. I've always kind of wanted to explore that. I will take care of my health. I've been pre-diabetic for a very long time. And then I realized I had some studies done that my resistance to insulin is very, very high. I've started a new diet, and so far I've lost like 17 pounds, which is wonderful. We can talk about that a little bit more at another video. I've decided to focus on my spiritual life. to put God first, and at least first above Facebook, YouTube, social media, TV. So one of my priorities this year is to be able to spend time with God in my devotional before the media. So let's see how I go about it. Besides my health and my relationship with God, I want to start developing some healthy habits and tracking them. And maybe you guys can join me in that, and you can set your own habits and track your progress and be able to give yourself your own pat in the back. And finally, I'm also looking to define and develop my purpose in this stage of my life. You see, I always believe that life goes in stages. Some stages close and some open. And in this stage of my life, I want to know what my purpose is, what my aim, what my desires are, what I am good at, and be able to live a more fulfilling life. So if you're interested in any of this, I would like to invite you to join me. And let's do this day by day thing together.